This is Isaiah 9 and 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. I like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Call Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakaf Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who grew well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad, the Akim and the Aquath that's listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shawab Amawan back at you with another lesson. And Lord willing is quick and straight to the point and also edifying. All right. As you can see the title, all right, they have woke up the bear. All right. And I'm going to read Isaiah 9 and 5 once again. And it says, for every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. All right. Because yes, in the ancient times, right, battles were fought with swords, with clinging of swords, all right, and people will come out bloody, all right, on their garments, all right. But see, the battles that are now fought are fought with they're fought with total missiles, okay, and that's how everything's going to end up, all right. Here in America, Babylon the Great, everything's going to be ended with actual thermonuclear missiles, okay, and that's prophecy. All right, Israel and America will be annihilated by thermonuclear missiles. All right, this is, let me grab, this is Malachi 4 and 1. It says, for behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. Okay. So the day is coming, all right, that this place is going to be in one great lake of fire, okay? And this is what we've been preparing our people, all right, for years now, all right, for the coming events. That's all Bible prophecy, all right? The true prophets are going to be speaking in the spirit of prophecy, because that's what Yahweh Shai is, the spirit of prophecy, okay? The prophets of old, all right, spoke against many countries, against kingdoms, all right, of war, of pestilence, okay, of evils that's coming to the earth, all right. And what we just have now happening, all right, I'm going to play two videos concerning Russia, all right. They have basically entered the war now, all right, and it's a beautiful thing to see that, because that can only just let us know that the MOTB is about to be presented, okay. Because pretty much once you had Russia join the war, all right, this thing is going to escalate very, very quick. All right. And it's already been escalating. And look, we're in what, March. We're about the end of, March 27th. We're 4 days away from April. So in 3 months, all right, of 2026, all right, you've been hearing about nothing but wars, rumors of wars. And now we're past the rumors. We're dead ass in the middle of war. All right. This whole thing with Iran has been about a month now. Okay. And now you have, like I said, Russia entering into the war. Okay. And that can only signify that the MOTB, all right, is about to be presented and be made mandatory. All right. And once the MOTB is presented mandatory, all right, there's not much time left before missiles fly in this place. Okay. Everything has to happen in chronological order. And that's the one thing that we've been waiting for. All right, because war's been on the table. World War III has been on, it's been on that back burner for a while now. Okay, and now you see that what's going on with Iran, it's causing global conflict. All right, it ain't just causing conflict here in America, it's causing a global conflict, because globally everything's about to be shut down, everything's about to collapse. All right, to usher in this NWO, this New World Order. Okay. And once again, everything is happening through Bible prophecy, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay. And it's a beautiful time to be alive in this truth. Right. So let's grab this video real quick, and then I'll grab a couple precepts from Ezekiel 38, and I'll pretty much close it out. All right. So you have, where's it at? Give me 1 second. Hold on.
All hell is breaking loose as Russia has entered Donald Trump's war against Iran. And all hell is breaking loose as Russia has entered Donald Trump's war against Iran in a big way. Russia ain't hiding the fact that it has been sending drones to Iran along with satellite imagery, targeting data, and intelligence support that has been crippling to the United States. And Vladimir Putin and Lavrov and Yushakov and Dmitriev, the crew that keeps on meeting with Witkoff and Kushner, who keep getting more concessions out of the United States, they're out there bragging and boasting that the United States military bases throughout the Middle East have been obliterated. You want to use the word obliterated, Donald? New York Times is reporting how Iran just wrecked all of America's Gulf bases. Kuwait.
And let me read that. It says, NYT says, Iran just wrecked America's Gulf bases. Kuwait gutted with collapsed roofs, smashed radar, 17 plus U.S. sites hit, $800 million plus in damage. In, I guess it says in 1 week or 2 weeks. Yeah, in 2 weeks, troops fighting remotely from hotels. A forever basing empire is a $1 trillion liability. All right. Then it says, I guess because it's cutting off some words. It says time. Let me see if it says time. Yeah. It says time something. A lean naval over the horizon posture before the next war bleeds us dry. He's probably going to end up reading it anyway, but I just wanted to read it just in case he doesn't.
Collapsed roofs and smashed radar. 17 U.S. sites have been hit in the Middle East region. $800 million or more in damage in weeks. Our troops have basically abandoned all of the American military bases in the Middle East. May I repeat that? Our troops have abandoned basically all of the military bases in the Middle East.
See, this also proves that what DJ Trump is talking about, that they're winning the war, is a complete lie. All right, they've been losing this war against Iran in a horrible manner. Okay, and again, listen, man, these other nations haven't even joined. You see, Iran's been doing this by themselves, and Iran is that much smaller. Now they're talking about ground war. You know, you got Iran that's setting, I think they had like 1 million ready for ground war. All right. The army for America, their military is, I forgot exactly the number, but it's way past 1 million. Okay. I think it's like 250 something. Okay. 250 million, something like that for ground war. Might be not, as a matter of fact, might be less than that. Salakia, I don't sound right. All right, but I know that their military is way more than 1 million. All right, for ground war. You see, and they're doing it, and they're in a small number. Going back to, you know, Joel, the 3rd chapter, right? All right, let the weak say I am strong. Okay, the weak is now showing their true teeth. All right, showing their true power because teeth represent power. All right. And they're showing, you know, the damage they have caused to Babylon the Great. All right. And again, now you have Russia joining the war. And that's big, great news right there for us to hear, man. Okay. Now Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, begins to, you know, come into full effect. All right. So eventually you're going to have, all right, Russia obliviate Israel. All right. And then eventually, okay, they're going to have that evil thought to go to America, as the scriptures say, right?
And now they are working remotely from home.
And they acting like they didn't know that Russia was supplying them with artillery, man. you know, Russia's been giving them artillery. You got China that's been dealing with Iran. Okay, how do you think Iran has become strong? How do you think they became from weak to strong? Because they've been getting supplied these things. It's simple math, all right? Iran supplies them with oil, all right, and other types of missiles, okay, that they don't have, all right? And then in return, okay, you have Russia that will give them, you know, helicopters and certain type of artillery that they don't have. All right, same thing with China, okay? But they're going to act like they're surprised that they weren't getting, you know, they didn't know that they were getting all this type of military weapons from them, all right? And that just goes to show that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai has Esau in delusion, you know? The pride of thine heart has deceived thee. You know, so much pride that they can't even see the things that are happening behind closed doors, seeing how all these nations have been conspiring against them for quite some time now. You see, that's right. Russia's giving Iran intelligence, exactly, a whole lot of intelligence. All right, so it's about to get real ugly out here.
While Iran is utilizing a spy network to try to find which hotels U.S. troops are at to target those hotels. As Anthony Scaramucci writes, a forever basing empire is a $1 trillion liability. Time for a lean navy over the horizon posture before the next war bleeds us dry. The next war, Anthony, how about this right here? I mean, I'll throw up this B-roll right here. You want to see how they are developing or have already developed the military of the future in China right here with these drone swarms. You see, unlike the United States that has continued to build these outdated THAAD and Patriot systems, which we forced on and pushed on the Middle East allies and others, these drone swarms and the drone interceptors, because that's how wars are fought now in 2026, have been perfected by China. And China has been boasting and bragging throughout this entire week by showing these videos about just how successful their preparedness is for the battle of the future. Just take a look at this New York Times article, though, about how successful Russia has been at transferring this data to Iran to target these American bases, while Donald Trump continues to be a Putin bootlicker publicly. Now, the New York Times doesn't say, oh, well, Russia gave these coordinates. Just put together the Financial Times story about Russia just announcing that it's doing this, and the New York Times story, and it's obvious what is taking place right here. Just take a look right here at what the New York Times article says. Many of the 13 military bases in the region used by American troops are all but uninhabitable. Iran has bombed U.S. bases across the Middle East in retaliation for the U.S.-Israeli war, forcing many American troops to relocate to hotels and office spaces throughout the region, according to military personnel and American officials. By the way, this is leaking out because...
So you hear it, all right?
All hell is breaking loose.
They have officially entered this war, right? And I got one more video, all right? Where's it at?
Some breaking news. Israel had just bombed Russia and they've blown up a Russian supply line to Iran. And this supply line carries Russian oil, Russian weapons, etc. And Israel just blew them up. And Russia is preparing to go to war over this. Well, today, Israel has carried out their first attack onto the Caspian Sea.
Now, let me open this one up a little bit.
And according to reports, Israel, quote, targeted a supply corridor used by Russia to transport drones, ammunition and other military equipment to Iran. Now, it is worth knowing that Russia is one of the biggest military equipment suppliers to Iran, and vice versa. Iran supplies Russia with their famous Shahed drones, and in return, Russia gives Iran helicopters and missiles and things like that. Well, Russia and Iran both border the Caspian Sea, and rather than sending this equipment by land, they send it through the sea, through a 600-mile mile-long corridor. Russia also has pipelines as part of this supply corridor, and so Israel might have bombed them too. Currently, we don't actually know whether Israel bombed ships which were transporting equipment or whether they bombed these pipelines. The reports are quite vague. All we know is that Israel bombed one of them, or maybe both of them. However, because of how big a deal this is, because Israel has bombed Russian equipment, it suggests that the war might go on for longer. Specifically, in just the last day, Polymarket has predicted that the chance the war with Iran will end by the end of this month has dropped from 18% yesterday to 13% today. And that's because Russia has now been attacked in this war, making it far more likely that Russia will supply more and more equipment and intelligence to Iran to help them fight against Israel, meaning the war will go on for longer. Now, Russia has not officially issued a statement on this yet, even though their own equipment and transport corridor has been blown up. And so it's likely they will, and they'll probably officially just call for peace, as they normally do. But behind the scenes, they're going to be quite mad. A lot happens behind the scenes that we don't hear about. And so leave me a follow, because once we find out more, I'm going to keep you up to date on all of the global news, especially if Russia continues to help Iran. So
and I'm gonna tell you straight up, right after this Passover, watch how ugly it's gonna get. Watch how turned up it's gonna get. All right. This is why this is big news, because this is right before the Passover. All right. And we know that through the patterns over the years, every time the Passover comes about, all right, something big always happens right after that. And the Lord turns up even more. Okay. And this is why we say this might very well be the last Passover, man, because look how war is escalating, all right, throughout the so-called Middle East. Look how war is just escalating in the amount of time that it has that it started in. Okay, we've been in this war for a month, all right, with Iran, all right, and look how so much has happened, all right, through this whole entire month. Okay. And that, like I said earlier, it's starting, is causing a global collapse of everything. All right. Because Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah is pretty much shutting this place down. All right. Letting you know that World War III is imminent. The draft is coming. Okay. All these people that's going to stand up for America. All right. None of these people going to come back. Okay. All these people going to die out there in war. A lot of people going to die from famine. Okay. And that's just beautiful to hear. So let's grab this in Ezekiel. All right. The 38th chapter. All right. This is, select that one to 28. Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. All right. And we'll grab it from 2. And it says, Son of man, set thy face against Gog and the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against them. And that's what we've been doing. All right. We've been prophesying, starting with the elders and apostles, all right, of Great Millstone. We've been prophesying about this for years. The elders and apostles have been prophesying about this for the 35, 40 plus years, man. Telling you that this day will come. All right. I know these elders and apostles are happier than they've ever been. All right. Because they see, all right, what's going on. Okay. So, Shalom Malak, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah Barakatah, to both brothers, all right, Brother Kazad and Brother Kasak. All right. So it says, what was I? And say, verse 3, it says, and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog and chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, right? So the Lord has put that spirit of that Soviet Union back into this bear, man. Okay. They were quiet for a while. All right. But now the Lord has stirred them up. All right. As the Lord said, I will stir up the Medes, right? Let's grab that real quick. This is Salakia. 17:13 and 17 in Isaiah says, Babylon will fall to the Medes, right? It says, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of Chaldees, excellency shall be as when Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, you see. And that's what you see being done right now. All right. Now they're going to be stirred up to a whole nother level, right? They already been in war with Ukraine. All right. For what? Since that started in 2022. Okay. So they've been in war with them for quite some time. But now, all right, they're entering into this war, all right, concerning America and Iran. All right. And this is the war that we've been telling you that's going to lead to the end of all wars, right? Going into Armageddon. Okay. So it says, behold, I will stir up the Medes. Okay, let's just look up that word stir. Okay. All right, it goes into right? It says to rouse oneself awake. You see, awaken, going into the title, right? They have woke up the bear. Okay. It says to stir up, rouse, incite, to be excited, be triumphant. Okay. That's beautiful. See, it's exciting times for us. All right. And it's exciting times for Russia because they've been dying to go into this war. All right. And this is going to lead to all these other nations going into war against America also. All right. You got China's another one that's excited to, they've been itching to get involved. Okay. And America's the nation to do it because that's a nation that's hated right now. Right. Throughout the whole entire globe right now. So it says to be excited. Right, to act in an aroused manner, awake. All right, let me see if it says anything. That's cool. All right, so it says, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of Chaldees, excellency shall be as when Yahweh overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, let's grab this. This is Jeremiah. And then I'll go back to 38 in Ezekiel. All right, this is let's grab it from Jeremiah 51, and let's take it from 11. It says, let's take it from 10. It says, the Lord Yahweh has brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord Yahweh, our power. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon, to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh and the vengeance of his temple. Yeah, because Babylon the Great has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand for quite some time, right? So therefore the nations are mad, right? And the Lord has created this device, all right, pertaining to Isaiah, the 47th chapter, right, to destroy, okay, Babylon the Great. All right, this is my bad, I said Isaiah 47. I meant Isaiah 54. Right, this is 16 and 54 in Isaiah. Right, it says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. You see, and this is why, you know, the smith today will be these modern day scientists, all right, that were able to create these missiles, all right, and the Lord has put the spirit and intelligence on them to create these missiles just to destroy Babylon the Great with them. You see, that's the instrument that's being brought forth for his work, all right. And what's the work of the Lord, all right, to destroy this place, all right, according to biblical prophecy. Okay, so let's go back, right, to of course, there we go. Going back to Jeremiah 51 and 11, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord Yahweh has both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. You see, and that's why the Lord has been giving you the prophets, all right, the prophets of doom to tell you what was to come. All right. This is why, you know, we don't say these things out of fear mongering, man. We tell you these things because through the fear of the Lord is how we persuade men. You should be persuaded by now. All right. Hearing us been speaking about war for years now, telling you that these things will come to pass. And look, they're happening. So people should be afraid. All right. But with all these things happening, right, these people still not going to turn from their wickedness. That's why they're going to get caught off guard. That's why they're going to burn in this lake of fire. You see, that's why many great miseries is going to be done to them that walk in those last days in great pride. Right. So let's go back to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Right. So everything freezing up and moving around too much. All right, this is Ezekiel 38:4, and it says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords." Okay, so the Lord has put that spirit back on them. All right, to, you know, bring out war. Okay, has, you know, made them great again with all their, you know, their weapons. Okay. Russia is one of the biggest, you know, militaries that have great weapons. All right. And they're one of the ones that have the most thermonuclear missiles out here, man. Okay. And those are all going to be used according to scripture, right? 200 million missiles, all right, going to be shot to America between, you know, Russia being the main one, but all these other nations also, all right, together round about her, all right, to destroy her. All right, so it says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Okay, meaning what? They're going to have their weapons too. All right, and they're all being given weapons, all right, by Russia themselves. Okay, Persia going into these modern day these modern day Persians, right, going into these Iranians. All right, you got Ethiopia, Libya going into these Africans, right, which Russia's going to be a guard onto them also. Okay, just like you see Russia being a guard onto Iran now, right? Then it says Gomer, which goes into the Turks, all right, because eventually you're going to see Turkey also turn against America, all right, and they're going to join also, which I did a video on that like 3 days back concerning Turkey. Okay, they're ready to leave America's side, right? So it says Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togomar of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have always been waste, okay, but is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. All right, so eventually, okay, you're gonna see Israel get annihilated, man. Okay, and they were the ones that drew this war even further than where they had to go, as the scriptures that said that the least of the flock shall draw them out. You see. And now you just seen that video where they talking about that they're making they attacked Russian territory, man. So best believe that was the worst thing they could have did, because that's what's going to bring them, all right, down to their destruction. Okay, so it says, "Thou shalt ascend." So like, "Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. Thou and all thy bands." Right, and it says, "And many people with thee. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of the unwalled villages." All right. And the unwalled villages is talking about America. All right. Why? Because this is a place with no protection. All right. No board, no walls around their borders. All right. Anybody could come in and out. All right. As you see how men, you know, from all different types of countries have come into America, right? The Lord said in the scriptures that I will fill Babylon up with men. All right, so you have different types of nations all over out here, right? You got sleeper cells all over the place, okay? And this is the place where unwalled villages, most of all, because they're all scattered throughout the earth right now, waging war in all these different countries. All right, so they're not even here protecting their own. All right, so they're very weak. Right, so it says, I will go to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. You see, to take a spoil, to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land. You see, so eventually, all right, Putin's going to have that evil thought to go after America. All right, they're going to annihilate Israel. All right, and then they're going to have that evil thought to go towards America. You see, and that's all biblical prophecy. Okay. And that's what you're starting to see accumulate right now through the spirit. All right. Let me see what the brother got here. This is, yeah, that's the spirit. The brother put that, read that again. This is Jeremiah 51:11. It says, make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device of the Mede, for his device is against Babylon to destroy, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the vengeance of his temple. All right, and that came out twice through the spirit. All right, so that's the warning that the Lord is giving you, man, that this place, all right, is going to be annihilated. World War III is imminent. All right, there's no it might happen. We'll find a way to, you know, to bring peace now. Okay. As a matter of fact, that every time now America's trying to throw some type of peace deal, all right, everybody's rejecting it. Nobody wants to hear the peace deals of America no more, man. Esau's known for breaking covenants. Esau's known for making peace treaties and peace deals, man, and then he turns his back on them. You see? So once again, the nations are mad. You see? And there's no hope for Babylon. As the scriptures say, we would have healed Babylon, right? But Babylon is not. So it's not going to be healed at all. It's not going to come back to the way it used to be, man. All right. All that you have coming. All right. Let's end it with this. This is 2nd Ezra 16. This is 16 and 18, and it reads, I'll take it from 17. Woe, matter of fact, let's take it from 14. It says, behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth. Okay, like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? So we're in the time of sorrow, man. Great mournings, great death. All right. America's about to meet its doom. Okay. Whether people want to believe it or not, whether they want to hear it or not. Okay. The Lord is going to do what he's supposed to do, man. And that's prophecy. All right. Let's grab this. This is Isaiah 47. And let's grab it from 5. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the lady of kingdoms. I was wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance, given them into thine hand. Thou did show them no mercy upon the ancient, hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. And thou said, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou did not lay these things to thine heart, neither did remember the latter end of it. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. You see, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it has perverted thee. Thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. You see, therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. You see, and this is why you have to get right with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man. All right, because the Lord said, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, put off not from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai come upon thee, right? The Lord said he gonna come like a thief in the night. To come like a thief in the night is to come suddenly without you knowing, unexpectedly, okay? Only the elect knows, all right? We don't know exact what time, all right? What day, no man knows, right? No angels, not even Yahweh Shai himself, but the Lord said, measure the time diligently within itself. So we're measuring the time, okay? Just like the Lord measures everything, right? And he does not stir them until the said measure be fulfilled, all right? Well, by us being the watchmen and watching what's going on, all right? Every time the Lord stirs something out and one said measure is being fulfilled, we're bringing it out through scripture and filtering it through scripture, right? So the Lord is measuring along with the prophets measuring with him, you see, because he's given us the spirit to measure that out for him, to explain to you how it's fallen through chronological order, through biblical prophecy, you see. And that's why you're supposed to take heed of the prophets, all right? But to the rest of the world is a joke. To the rest of the world, this ain't never going to happen, you know. It's all fun and games till what? Till judgment come. All right, so I'm going to leave it there through the spirit. Matter of fact, the brother got another one. This is Jeremiah 50 and 29, and it says, call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow, camp against it round about. Let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she has done. Do unto her, for she has been proud against the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, against the Holy One of Israel. Yeah. So that's why you see all these nations being, you know, positioned round about her. All right. It's not for a good cause. You see, it's because they're all going to annihilate America. All right. According to scripture. And when the annihilation comes, that's going to be the wrath and the anger, the vengeance of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai against Babylon the Great. You see, thus the reason it's going to become a lake of fire, never to be inhabited again. All right. According to Isaiah, the 34th chapter. All right. So I'm going to leave you there through the spirit, Lord willing, that you will edify. So with that being said, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Haloyim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, B'chakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad, the Akim and the Aqua that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing, that the lesson was edifying. The water for the scriptures, brother. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, onto you and onto the sister and to the brother Kazak. May you continue to fight in the faith. All right. Keep being strong. All right. We almost up out of here. A Bible ball real soon. Shalom. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Barakatah.